and thank you for tuning in to the AAU TV Mid-Week news coming to you from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana. My name is Maame Ekua Otuakoa Nyame. With me in the studio are
Jemima, Deladem, Dotsey.
And I am Agyemang, Darko.
And now the headlines on higher education. TVET qualifications suffer employability, students say. Rampant internet blackouts by African government undermines higher education delivery.
In our health news, COVID-19 vaccines do not cause infertility, study finds. And again, stress associated with an increased risk of getting COVID-19, study reveals.
In our science and technology bits, Ghanaian-based computer scientist launches new smartphone-based code app called Suya Code. We're glad you made time to join us on AAU TV News. Stay with us for more news. We'll be right back.
Welcome back from the break, and a study among some 113 South African engineering students from the technical and vocational education and training colleges has revealed that 79 participants, representing majority, believe their qualification is undervalued and does not guarantee employment. However, 34 participants maintain that it's in demand in the labor market.
The study was conducted by one Anthony Tolika Sibiya of the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, in Siba Nyambizi and David Bogopa of Nelson Mandela University. TVET colleges in South Africa are viewed as the Cinderella of the post-school education and training sector, with reports of poor infrastructure, high failure rates and incoherence in the qualification of lecturers plaguing them. Furthermore, there is a stigma of low standards attached to these colleges, with calls for the recapitalization of the sector. The study explored how selected TVET engineering students from 2 colleges in South Africa's Eastern Cape province viewed their qualifications and employment prospects in the light of youth unemployment in general and among TVET graduates. While the unemployment rate among South Africans with a tertiary qualification stood at 7%, it appeared to be a staggering 33% among TVET graduates in 2017. The main findings are: 34 students perceive there is a high demand for a TVET engineering qualification. The perception of most of the students, 79, is that a TVET qualification does not guarantee employment. A qualification counts for more than experience, and job scarcity is more of a problem than a lack of skills.
Well, there we have it. TVET qualification is said not to be a golden highway for employment. I want us to first of all glance through the study and let's find out what the study says. What was the research outcome these students came up with?
Okay, first of all, I would say that I believe there is a wide gap in research when it comes to TVET institutions. So I think I commend Sabiya, Mbenzi and then Bukumba for taking up this mantle. And then the research findings, in my opinion, point out to how unprivileged TVET is seen or has been. And I'll highlight 2 from what I have here. So first of all, I'll talk about the students. 79 out of 113 students, which is about 70%, perceive that their TVET qualification doesn't guarantee them a job. And that is very bad. TVET is highly practical. So even if, you don't go out to look for a job, personally, you could do something for yourself. And that is to say that, after gaining all the experience in the college, TVET colleges, all that is left after graduating is hope.
Exactly.
You stay in the house and you hope that you get a job and then do without considering what you can do for yourself. And number 2, I'll talk about job scarcity being a problem more than a lack of skill. when it comes to seeking jobs, there is a lot of problems out there.
Yeah.
And on several occasions, we have seen graduates who do jobs that are not in line with their field of work.
Yeah.
Someone studies carpentry and then go out to the job market to do something else.
Exactly.
Because they want to earn a living. And by so doing, at the long way around, they even forget the experiences that they have, they have learned in the school. So I think that is my little outcome with that.
Okay, Agyemang.
Yeah, Mekua, let me begin by saying that, the purpose for technical vocational education training is just to invest in social economic development and then enhance industrialization and creating employment to reduce poverty. But if you get a headline like this that says that TVET qualification suffers employment, it means that the whole purpose for TVET and its assistance has been defeated wherever the story came from, and even in Africa, because we find this all over the place. Why are we saying this? The key finding was that, one of the key findings that Jemima mentioned was, out of 113 participants, 79 of them said that, according to the topic, or let's say the title of the research, that said that the perceptive value of TVET education and a prospect that comes with for employment. 79 say that we disagree that there's good value for TVET education. That is very, very sad.
Yeah, very sad.
So unfortunately, it means that the value for TVET education in Southern Africa or in some parts of Africa has been defaced.
Yeah.
And what is the point? TVET was a prime program created to create employment because you are learning hands-on skill. And so therefore it should be very easy for you to practically solve problems in society. So when people like you are complaining or are wailing that you're not getting employment, then what do those who are studying other programs which are not practically oriented do?
Exactly.
So I think basically the findings of the study are very disheartening, that these students who are supposed to be problem solvers, job creators, because you go out with your skills, start something with carpentry, welding, you are the one wailing, or let's say sobbing, that you are not being soaked into the job market. That's a big issue, to my understanding.
Beyond what Jemima and Agyemang has just said, some participants equally reported that the requirement that graduates should have work experience is just unfair. It's an unfair qualification, and they also mentioned that requiring experience of graduate is an unfair barrier to employment and should be done away with. I want to find out from you two, what better solutions you think we can have for these?
It's very sad. Everybody deserves the opportunity to learn on the job, of the job. There's so many ways it's done. You go to tertiary institutions, you have internship slots for you once every year. I mean, it's optional, but we have the mandatory internship when you get to your final year. And for the TV institutions as well, I don't know what happens in the field, but they should be given that hands-on or that free reign to go and then practice what they've learned. The only issue here is that higher education has not done so much well to bridge the gap between themselves and industry. So students don't even understand what is happening in the current trend. We don't even have it. Now, for TVET institutions, these students have the skills already. So if, let's say, a carpentry student gets to a furniture production company, it shouldn't be how many years of experience do you have. It should be, what can you do? Create a solution for us. Somebody wants a chair that can go this way. So the measurements available, the kind of wood. Show us how you can make a wood or make a chair. Or let's say, make something out of the case study so we can see how effective or efficient you are. What we call the trade test. Trade test for TVET institutions. But TVET institutions being required, or a student from a TVET institution being required to produce a CV that has a list of experiences from where? From which institution? I mean, this is unfair.
It's unfair. They also mentioned that they thought internship should be made compulsory for everyone. But I have a problem with that because we live in a country, I can mainly speak for Ghana, because in most organizations in Ghana, when interns are asked to come in, they are given their work description. Yes, you know what you're supposed to do, but ask yourself, are they really doing what they're supposed to do? Interns in Ghana most times are found going out to get water, going to get food. They are printing stuff. That's basically all they do. So imagine if you're an organization who treats interns like that. would you be okay with the qualification of an intern? Because you know that really interns are only buying water, they are only buying food. So I think we just need to restructure our education system, and when it comes to...
That's a very, very serious statement, with the fact that what interns do when they get sold into the industry. But I think that, I mean, this is it's a cliche, you know, interns have been brandished, or let's say branded to be around two, so we just send you up and down. You don't really do anything, and it's sunk into the heads of so many employers. So if you bring a list of intern opportunities and say these are all not substantive, I think that we should shun all those kind of mindsets, because it may not be the case. You could have done so much well with all your internships. Why would someone want to use one day to just cancel out or underestimate all the effects?
Basically, all I'm trying to say is until organizations take interns seriously, that is going to be the trend everywhere. Because if you have a company and you treat your interns that way, you only send your interns to go get food, go get water and other stuff, then you know that interns are inefficient, because that's basically what they do. So until organizations start utilizing their interns, well, I think really if they do 10,000 internships, it wouldn't still add up to the experience.
Well, so employers who do that properly, I mean, the necessary guidance and supervision for these interns to acquire the experience, because they're on a journey. They'll be living where you are to a different place, and they have to defend. But you know, I would say that employers shouldn't just be filled with that perception that internships are just waste of time and that you didn't do anything. Put them to test.
That's true. So
if you think that all my internship times I went to buy food or water or loitering around, put me to test. Give me a case study that pertains to what I did, and I'll prove to you that I really know my stuff. So I think that perception should be eschewed. Okay, nobody goes to go and sell or buy stuff. It's not what we intend to do. These are situations that we can't control.
Will you share experience, your internship experience? I didn't buy. Did you ever buy or sell?
I didn't buy food.
Okay, so while unemployment rate among South Africans with a tertiary qualification stood at 7%, it appeared to be a staggering 33% among TVET graduates in 2017. I think this is quite serious, but I want to take your views first.
You know, considering the gap in percentage of unemployment rate with regards to qualification, that is tertiary at 7% and then TVET at 33%, it clearly depicts the attention that has been less given to TVET graduates. That is in my opinion, because I believe it comes with a perception that, you know, those who have the degree, the tertiary qualification, are more accepted than those who have the
that is in
experience.
South Africa.
Yes. For instance, a manager of an automobile industry who is hiring, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if the manager should go for a degree holder than a TVET student who have had the experiences in the classroom and all that. So that is the little findings I have about the percentage.
But you know, of late, these TVET institutions are being converted to universities. When you come to Ghana, for instance, Takoradi, Polytechnic, Accra, they've all been turned to university. So they are also equally degree holders. So I really do not get what's going on in South Africa, but I'll take Agyemang's view.
A facelift wouldn't have caused any damage, if I were to say, but these results, I mean, tells a travesty in the purpose that, on the contrary, it's supposed to be the opposite, where TVET institutions actually having so much loss of employment against tertiary institutions. But if it's twisted this way, it means that there's really a problem that we have to solve in the African continent with regards to retention of TVET students. This is not good. The staggering grade of 33% against 7%. So what exactly are these students being trained for? So I believe that we must rewrite the narrative. We must ensure that we are ready, the economy is ready for TVET students. Because if we prioritize tertiary students over TVET students, then it means that they have been really stigmatized and marginalized. We don't even respect these people. We think that it's a place for the retarded, those who have fallen out, but it's wrong. They are the movers. They move the economy. They are the hands-on skills. So we must reorient our minds and create the leveling ground for these students to thrive.
You know, Agyemang, much as the figures is quite disheartening, I must also say that currently in South Africa, one major problem that TVET institutions are facing is poor infrastructure, and also the high failure rate in terms of the qualifications of their lecturers. I think that's where the question mark comes from, because if the lecturers who are giving the students or who are imparting the students with knowledge are not qualified, and every organization knows that, then definitely the students are going to suffer the consequence. So I think they should really take a critical look at that end for us. And now moving on, 11 African countries have been included in a list of 21 countries whose government deliberately shut down internet access for citizens in the course of 2021. In most cases to quell civil unrest, but a move that undermined higher education institutions, students and staff as they battle to continue working online during COVID-19.
Nigeria was one of the worst culprits globally and on the list of African countries that also include Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Burkina Faso, Eswatini, Republic of Congo, Zambia, Chad, Senegal, and South Sudan. The list was compiled by the virtual private network VPN review site on its top 10 VPN as part of a report on the global cost of internet shutdowns, most of which were in an attempt to restrict peaceful protests. Top 10 VPN estimates that 171 million internet users across Africa were affected by such shutdowns during 2021, leading to a total African economic loss of $1.93 billion. Educational institutions are particularly hard hit by such shutdowns, and this impact has been more profound as academic activities moved online during COVID-19. Globally, the report flags Nigeria as the biggest culprit after Myanmar. The cost of shutdowns in Nigeria is estimated at $1.5 billion. In Nigeria, about 104 million internet users were affected for a total of 210 days. Nigeria was closely followed by the hotbed of conflict in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, where the internet was shut down for a total of 369 days, affecting 21.3 million internet users at an economic cost of $164.5 million. The report indicated that 73% of all internet disruptions in Africa were associated with restrictions on peaceful protest, 45% with election interference, and 18% with infringement on freedom of the press. Sub-Saharan Africa had the longest period of internet shutdown, which is 665 days worldwide, followed by Asia, 561 days, and the Middle East and North Africa, 21 days.
Well, there we have it. Higher education suffering as a result of rampant internet blackout in some African countries. Now, according to a report published on the University World News site, Nigeria has been listed as the worst culprit when it comes to internet shutdown in Africa. Globally, it's ranked second after Myanmar. Now, these have devastating effect on higher education. I would want to find out from my colleagues, is it an appropriate action to shut down internet as a means of quelling civil unrest?
I would say it is quite unfortunate that the educational sector in Africa, which is lacking behind as compared to other parts of the world, has to suffer this civil unrest. Yeah. Also, these unrest leading to shutdown of internet came at a time where education has to migrate online due to pandemic, due to the COVID. And I'm of the opinion that, you know, shutting down internet service suppresses civil unrest. When you shut down internet at a time like this, where people really need it, you are likely to cause more agitation. So I think it was a really big problem to Nigerians.
Okay, Agyemang.
You know, there's a saying that the taking away the rights of one person or injustice to one person today here is like injustice against everyone else. When someone takes into his hands the power to shut down internet, perhaps they think they are controlling situations, but they are taking the rights of people in another extent. We have got digital rights. These rights enable you and I to share or air our view or our grievance on any matter on these social media platforms. So if we hear the African government, more particularly, are the ones taking away this internet capacity because of civil unrest, and these, go find out the reasons why they do that. Is because there's an election, and then there's going to be a rig, and people are going to talk about it, so we shut it down.
Yeah.
So, and when you do all these things, you forget that you are putting education 10 steps back after taking 5 steps forward. You don't care about it. So it's like we don't have a priority in this continent. We do what we want to do.
Exactly.
In 2017, the former president for Guinea, Alpha Conde, did the same thing during the election when there were protests from the people that we don't understand what's going on, took away internet.
Exactly.
And then we keep going on and on. And this attitude is becoming part of Africans, that we have it in our hands. We just take away internet. You can't talk about anything. That will move forward. Education is also being affected by all these misappropriations.
Yeah, that's true.
Hugely. You know, I have a statement here made by a legal counsel at Access Now. She's Natalia Krapiva, and she mentioned that by ordering and implementing internet shutdowns, African governments are violating their people's right to education as protected by Article 13 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, and ratified by the majority of African countries. What do you make of this statement, Agyemang? I'll start with you.
You know, it is clearly what I'm talking about, what I began to talk about earlier, that if you do all these things, it tells how inconsistent, how lawless we are across the world. I mean, it's a big disgrace that in the 21st century, African governments think taking away the internet is a way to solve civil unrest. I mean, where has our democracy gone to? Are we really going forward or going back? These are, in quotes, barbaric actions that we should put a stop to. What is the essence? Believe me, people need the internet to share their view. If you're doing the right thing, why do you take the internet away? But because you're doing the wrong thing, journalists can't even share information.
Exactly.
So in the midst of such ignorance, wrong things happen because one person has called it off. Ethiopia, it happened.
It happened.
Guinea, it happened. Chad, it happened. And all these countries that happened are also undergoing unrest. Where are we going with it? So I think it's a clarion call to all African leaders that stop that act, and it's not helping us. And even if you think you're doing it for your good, higher education is at risk, and we have to put a stop to it.
Jemima, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just add a little because I see Agyemang has taken everything. But then when you read the general comment section, Article 13 of the International Covenant on Economy, Social and Cultural Rights, you will appreciate the extent to which our education has become very important in our aspects of life. So I agree with Krapiva in the sense that nothing should be done to hinder the right to education. Individuals should be given access to resources that makes it possible for them to educate themselves to achieve their various goals.
Okay. Well, I think I agree. Nothing should be done to hinder the right to education. Our health news is up next.
In our health news, new findings indicate that COVID-19 vaccination does not impair fertility, but males who become infected by coronavirus may experience short-term reduced fertility. Many reproductive age individuals have cited concerns about fertility as a result of remaining unvaccinated. Study shows for the first time that COVID-19 vaccination in either partners is unrelated to fertility among couples trying to conceive through intercourse. Time to pregnancy was very similar regardless of vaccination status. Wesseling, a researcher, and colleagues analyzed survey data on COVID-19 vaccination and infection and the fecundability among male and female participants. Participants included 2,126 women in the US and Canada who provided information on social demographics, lifestyle, medical factors, and characteristics of their partners from December 2020 to September 2021, and the participants were followed in study through November 2021. The researchers calculated the per menstrual cycle probability of conception using self-reported date of participants' last menstrual period, typical menstrual cycle length, and pregnancy status. Fertility rate among female participants who received at least one dose of a vaccine were nearly identical to unvaccinated female participants. Fecundability was also similar for male partners who had received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine compared with unvaccinated male participants. Additionally, analysis that considered the number of vaccine doses, brand of vaccine, infertility, history, occupation, and geographic region also indicated no effect of vaccination on fertility. While COVID-19 infection was not strongly associated with fertility, men who tested positive for COVID within 60 days of a given cycle had reduced fertility compared to men who never tested positive, or men who tested positive at least 60 days prior. This data supports previous research that has linked COVID-19 infection in men with poor sperm quality and other reproductive dysfunction. So that was an interesting story right there with COVID-19 not causing infertility. But I would want us to, share our views on the story. Agyemang, I'll start with you.
This is one of the most bizarre findings about coronavirus that I'm really thinking in my head through. This is so strange. Many people have confessed about their reactions to the coronavirus vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, we heard somewhere the latter part of 2021 that Nicki Minaj reported that her brother's friend complained that after getting vaccinated, he lost one of his balls.
Wow.
I mean, it came into the news and they were like, Nicki Minaj, someone of her caliber, should know better. And because the scientists were not really happy, the WHO were not happy with the fact that Nicki Minaj should know better. That how can you say that vaccines can create such mishap in your human body? But that wasn't the first we heard people complaining. All over the world, we have people saying that I was vaccinated, this happened to me, this happened to me. We even had the hoax in Ghana that some people can put their phones over here and then it goes that lots of perceptions all over the place. Whether they were true or not, we have to accept that some people react differently to it, or adversely to vaccines. But the study is saying that vaccines do not cause infertility. Well, I've not experienced anything like that though, so I can't say anything. And I've not heard anyone come out to say that I got vaccinated and I think I'm infertile.
Yeah.
However, the study alluded, or let's say the study mentioned that COVID-19 infection rather can create that nuance of you either losing fertility or reducing infertility, which can be attributed to the ACE1, ACE2 enzymes in the human body, because when the virus wants to enter the cells, it has to pass through the receptor, through the ACE1, ACE2 that facilitate the whole entry, and that may be where there may be some compromise to create such reduction in fertility. I mean, there's still more room for improvement on bringing out the clarity in the fact of what really contributes to the infertility. So at this point, I would just keep my fingers crossed and say, well, let's see what happens next.
I really see what Agyemang is trying to do here. He's basically trying to get out of trouble, but really he didn't do the study, so come on, chill. Anyways, I think I'll just add that, like you clearly said, taking the vaccine does not cause infertility as people have perceived elsewhere. So people who are running away from taking the vaccine because they are afraid they would be infertile after taking it can gladly go in for the vaccine. However, I think I also have some small sentiment to share about the COVID-19 bit, where the study says men who had contracted COVID sort of experience some reduced fertility. That's for a period of 60 days. Now, what I want to just put out there is, really, COVID has been with us for 2 years, and we are still getting to understand it better. Each and every day, new findings come up, new findings pop up. So I think whenever I come across any new findings concerning COVID, I just go like, okay, that's fine. But I mean, I think the good thing is it's just a period of 60 days. So, men, if you have had COVID before, and this study is saying basically that you may have reduced fertility, it's just a period of 60 days. Just close your eyes and open it, and
really?
you are good to go. But really, I also hope that this is not true, because 60 days is a lot. Agyemang wants to give birth in the next 2 months. Imagine him losing his fertility in 2 months. That's bad. Speechless.
Okay, so continuing, a new study has found that people who experienced increased stress, anxiety, and depression at the start of the pandemic were at greater risk of getting COVID-19. Previous research has shown that psychological factors such as stress and social support are associated with increased susceptibility to viral respiratory illnesses and more severe symptoms. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a well-documented deterioration in psychological well-being and increased social isolation. The purpose of this study was to find out whether people who experienced these difficulties during the pandemic were more at risk of contracting and or experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. The team of experts conducted an observational study of nearly 1,100 adults who completed survey during April 2020 and self-reported incidents of COVID-19 infection and symptom experience across the pandemic through to December 2020. Regression models were used to explore these relationships, taking into account demographic and occupational factors. The result shows that COVID-19 infection and symptoms were more common among those experiencing elevated psychological distress. According to a researcher, the significance of the work is in that it turns the debate regarding the mental health aspect of the pandemic on its head. Data shows that increased stress, anxiety, and depression are not only consequences of living with the pandemic, but may also be factors that increase our risk of getting SARS-CoV-2 too. Further work is now needed to determine whether and how public health policy should change to accommodate the fact that the most distressed people in our communities appear to be at greater risk of COVID-19 infection. This is another interesting story which talks about how stress is associated with the increased risk of getting COVID-19. But I would want us to, talk about how does this stress, anxiety, and depression increase one's chance of contracting COVID-19. Maame Ekua.
Okay, I must say that I also sort of find this study quite strange.
Yeah.
Because we all know that from the beginning of this pandemic, WHO outlined all possible ways one can contract COVID. And nowhere in these lists did I find anything related to stress, anxiety, or depression. Who mentioned that you can get COVID when you're exposed to a droplet of an infected person, either through coughing or sneezing. There are people who contract COVID when they find themselves in a poorly ventilated environment. People get it from surface transmission. Others get it from a lot of things. But really, I have not seen anything related to stress, anxiety, or depression. So I don't know if Agyemang has anything to add, but really, I can't say anything.
With the way he's laughing, I think he's sure that.
I think it's quite relatable to relative to other things that we go through. For example, you can be in a vehicle, filled with many people, and some people are coughing, and just by the mere thought that this person coughing, perhaps I may get it, and you've been anxious, you've been depressed, thinking too much about it, you end up coughing eventually. It happens. This is psychological power when it comes to how we think and what we perceive. There's a movie that a thriller movie that was titled "Be Careful What You Wish For." And this movie was about this young man who had imagined so many things that, and eventually it came to pass, and he was really, really disturbed by what he incurred upon himself, what he was thinking about. So it's like, be careful what you think about. If you find yourself in a situation and then you keep thinking about it, what more than you should be doing, you're stressed up, you're depressed, you're anxious, eventually you increase your chance of ending up in that situation.
How? How? Because from where I stand, I personally feel like people who were so stressed, so anxious about COVID are the ones who stood the least chance of contracting COVID. Because if you are too scared of it, then when you touch any surface, you'd wash your hands. If you are too scared of it, you wouldn't enter a poorly ventilated environment without your nose mask. I don't even think you'd step out without the nose mask. So I really do not get it. I just don't get the relation between stress, anxiety, depression, and COVID-19.
I think it plays out in this form. It's not about you being overly careful not to get COVID. It's about you thinking that you may get it. So, for example, I come into contact with somebody
and you feel
who
like
was infected, and I exchanged pleasantries, and later on, I was told that this person you did this with has COVID, or let's say is infected, and I go home and I'm thinking,
Agyemang, see,
I'm thinking,
Agyemang, I think,
worried, I'm
no,
depressed.
I think we should draw some lines here.
Mentally, I'm defeated.
Thinking you have got COVID is different from actually having COVID. I mean, when COVID happened initially, I was so scared. Like I said last time, I actually thought I had COVID, so I was getting a few symptoms. But me experiencing those symptoms because my mind has decided to allow me feel them doesn't mean I've got COVID. So that is where I have a problem with the study.
So
you may think you have COVID, but it doesn't reflect the fact that you have it. So how does being stressed or having anxiety or depression increases your chance of getting COVID?
Exactly. So I think it plays in when you are overly depressed that, oh, I think I've got this.
And that is with the mind. That is with the mind. The virus has got nothing to do with the mind.
Exactly.
I think I really need to find the scientists behind this.
It is just a premise. It's just a premise. It's not saying it is, let's say, cut in stone or it's conclusive. It's a premise for you to put yourself in that pool of imagination, or let's say of disturbia, that you may have gotten a COVID. So a headache passes through. Oh my, it's a symptom. A small cough is a symptom. A short dry cough is a symptom.
The study mentioned that those people who were stressed and depressed and feeling anxious about COVID are the ones who later come in with symptoms and even serious symptoms of COVID-19. I think we should understand what the study is not talking about what your mind thinks or what you feel. The study is saying
basically, so whatever your mind feeds you with, overly depressed, with these conditions, you may accept
that you have COVID.
I think I've got it.
The study is not talking about symptoms.
And maybe
it is not
it's all the mind, you know. It's on the mind.
It's talking about people who have been to the hospital and have tested for COVID and the results came out positive because they were stressed and anxious and depressed. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so
I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, even though stress, anxiety, depression are not causative in any way, they don't contribute to contracting COVID-19. It is about your mind and who you get in contact with, and how your mind feeds you and how you control yourself and your mind.
Your mind can cause you to experience headache.
Yes.
It can cause you to cough.
But
your mind can't cause you to get positive.
And you may conclude. I'm just alluding.
WHO comes out to say that we have added stress and anxiety and depression to the causes or ways of contracting COVID. And I think this is really just
let's stick to that. Two again.
That would be part.
How are you?
Oh, I think I started with Lydia.
Thank you.
I started
with you guys. How would you guys?
No, you're on your own.
I'll meet you guys.
So we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll give you tech news. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our science and technology segment, and in ensuring that learning becomes easy for people who want to code, Jojo Boateng, a Ghanaian computer scientist and social entrepreneur, created a Sua Code, a smartphone-based application to make things easier.
Boateng started Sua Code in 2017 as a graduate student of Dartmouth College. During Project Ice West, an annual innovation boot camp for high school students in Ghana organized by his education non-profit Nsisa Foundation. From 2018 to 2020, with 4 pilots, Sua Code had over 3,000 applicants from 69 countries, accepted over 1,000 students with a 62% completion rate, and alumni getting internships, jobs and studying computer science and engineering in top universities including Yale, Columbia, Dartmouth and MIT. In 2021, Boateng and co-founder Victor Combo improved on the idea and launched the startup Sua Code to transform Suya Code into a smartphone app with the aim of teaching millions across Africa to code using smartphones and an AI teaching assistant, Kwame. The Suya Code app enables users to learn how to code on their phone at any place, at any time in a community of learners across the globe. Through Kwame, a bilingual AI teaching assistant that Watson built, the app presents lessons in English and French along with fun and hands-on coding exercises, quizzes and assignments. It also provides quick and accurate answers to students' coding questions. The app's automated grading software, AutoGrade, grades users' assignments while checking for plagiarism and providing individualized feedback. And users receive a certificate of completion when they complete courses. For his work on Suya Code AI, George Watson has been recognized by the MIT Technology Review as a pioneer in the 2021 list of 35 innovators under 35.
So there we have it, a very innovative way of making coding very easy and very much fun with people all over the world. So Lee, what do you think about this great initiative and how it will make things easier for young people who want to code?
Okay, I think I'd want to first of all commend what Watson and his colleague have done. I think it's a great one because coding forms a very important aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
Without coding, we wouldn't have a lot of things. We wouldn't have a lot of softwares working. In fact, all softwares. Without coding, we can't use this machine. Without coding, we can't have any of our apps working.
Yeah.
Without coding, we can't even have our cars moving. Without coding, we can't iron. Coding basically forms a very vital part of our lives. And it's quite sad that most times all these stuff are coming from outside Africa. We have India, we have China, we have UK, we have US coming up with coding apps and all that. I think this is a great one and a stepping stone for Africans because this is one of our own, a Ghanaian who has been able to come up with a coding app. You know, most times people use PCs to code, and it makes it a little bit difficult. And when you do not really have knowledge on coding, you just tell yourself that this is not for me.
Sure.
But having these coding apps on our phones, I think anybody at all who is interested in coding and is willing to learn can just access it. You get it, and then you look in your society. There are problems. I think Agyemang would want to come up with
which app would you want to create if after you finish the class?
I think I'm yet to think about it.
Okay, so I would also take it from Maame Ekua's point of view when she said without coding we wouldn't have our smartphones and our other apps working. So right now I want to ask, so how then do we solve problems, societal problems, building interest in coding? Societal issues such as include academics, food, and others. But to make it easy to understand, you know, during the pandemic, educational institutions had to migrate from our traditional system of learning, which is the face-to-face, to the virtual studies. And with the existence of applications like Zoom, Teams, which all these applications were developed with the coding, teaching and learning didn't come to a halt. So I think I applaud that.
You know, I'm thinking about this application.
I actually think I can read your mind.
I am also reading his mind.
Come up with a dating
app that will make that I will tell that if my wife is missing me, or let's say my loved ones are missing me, it's an app.
Okay.
I'm thinking of making that app.
And
make your own app.
That's a societal issue.
Oh yes.
How does you missing your wife affect society?
Affects me personally.
Well, now that is all for the news, and in wrapping up, let's take a quick recap of our headlines. On higher education, TVET qualification suffer employability, students say. And also rampant internet blackout by African government undermines higher education delivery.
And in our health news, COVID-19 vaccines do not cause infertility, study finds. And again, stress associated with an increased risk of getting COVID-19, study reveals.
And in our tech story, Ghanaian-based computer scientist launches smartphone-based coding app Suya Code.
And I thank you very much for staying with the AAU TV news team. My name is Maame Ekua Otuakoa Nyame.
And I am Jemima Deladem Dotsey.
My name is Agyemang. We're glad you spent time with us on AAU TV News. Keep watching our programs, be safe, and have a nice day. Bye.